closed chapter, a lesson learned, no longer the defining event of her life. "I have news," Adrian said, his expression serious. "David's up for parole next month." The victim's advocate office asked if you wanted to make a statement. Maya considered this. 5 years ago, she would have jumped at the chance to keep him locked away. Now? No, she said finally. He served his time. What he does with his second chance is up to him. "You've become very wise," Adrian observed. "I've become very tired of carrying anger. It's exhausting." That evening, after Lily was asleep, Maya and Adrian sat on their balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you ever regret it?" Adrian asked. "The revenge, the risk, everything we did?" Maya thought about the question honestly. The path they'd taken had been dangerous, morally ambiguous, fueled by pain and anger. But it had also led her here, to healing, to love, to a life beyond her wildest dreams. "No," she said finally. "I needed that fire to burn away who I was and become who I am. I don't recommend it as a life strategy, but for me, it was necessary. And now? Now I'm grateful. For you, for Lily, for the chance to help others avoid the mistakes I made. For learning that revenge is sometimes necessary but never sufficient." Adrian kissed her temple. "What's sufficient?" Maya smiled, leaning into his warmth. "This. Love, family, purpose, peace. Building instead of destroying. Creating instead of taking. That's my girl," Adrian murmured. "Always teaching me new things." They sat in comfortable silence as stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Maya thought about the girl she'd been, broken, desperate, consumed by rage. That girl had been necessary, had driven Maya to survive and ultimately thrive. But she was gone now, transformed into someone stronger, wiser, more complete. Revenge had been her crucible, but love was her redemption. And in the end, that made all the difference. "Ever take away?" Maya took the key, feeling its weight. It represented so much more than a building. It was autonomy, security, a future built on her own terms. "Thank you," she whispered. "There's one more thing." Adrian pulled out a second box, and this time it was exactly what she'd thought. A ring, elegant, simple, perfect. "I know it's soon. I know we've been through hell to get here. But Maya Hartley, you've made me believe in second chances. Will you marry me?" Maya looked at the ring, then at Adrian's face, vulnerable, hopeful, real. This wasn't the dangerous man who'd offered her revenge. This was the man who'd stood by her through fire, who'd sacrificed for her, who'd helped her become stronger than she'd ever been. "Yes," she said. "But on one condition." "Anything." "Prenup. A real one this time, one that protects both of us. I won't make the same mistake twice." Adrian laughed, pulling her close. "Deal. You're learning. I had a good teacher." Epilogue, 5 years later. Maya stood in her corner office, looking out at the city she'd once struggled to survive in. Her consulting firm now had 50 employees, offices in 3 cities, and a waiting list of clients. She'd written a book about recovering from betrayal that had become a bestseller. She was successful, respected, whole. The door opened, and Adrian entered, carrying their 2-year-old daughter on his hip. Lily had her mother's blonde hair and her father's gray eyes. "Mama." Lily reached for her, and Maya took her, breathing in that perfect baby smell. "How was the park?" Maya asked. "She terrorized the ducks," Adrian reported. "She's definitely your daughter." Maya laughed. Their marriage had been everything she'd hoped: partnership, respect, love built on honesty and hard work. They'd both been through therapy, learned to communicate, built something stable from the wreckage of their pasts. Sometimes Maya thought about David, wondered how he was managing in prison. But mostly, she didn't. He was Maya considered this. They'd been through fire together, had built their relationship on the unstable ground of shared vengeance. Could they transition to something normal, something healthy? I want to try, she said finally. But we do this right. Therapy, honest communication, building trust that isn't based on destroying someone else. Deal. New beginnings. 1 year after David's arrest, Maya received an invitation to his sentencing hearing. She almost didn't go, but Adrian convinced her it would provide closure. The courthouse was cold and impersonal. David looked nothing like the confident man she'd married. Prison had hollowed him out, aged him. When he saw Maya, something flickered in his eyes, hope, maybe, that she'd changed her mind about helping him. She hadn't. The judge sentenced him to 15 years, with possibility of parole after 10. David's face crumbled as the sentence was read. As he was led away, he looked at Maya one last time. She felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no anger. Just a distant acknowledgement that a chapter of her life was finally, truly closed. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, but Adrian's security kept them at bay. They made it to his car in silence. "How do you feel?" Adrian asked. "Free," Maya said, surprised by the truth of it. "For the first time in years, I feel free." That evening, Adrian took her to his penthouse. They stood on the balcony, watching the city lights sparkle like grounded stars. "I have something for you," Adrian said, pulling out a small velvet box. Maya's heart stopped. "Adrian. Before you panic, it's not what you think." "Not yet, anyway." He opened the box to reveal a key. "It's to our new office building. For your consulting firm. Paid off, no strings attached. Your success, your terms, your company." Tears filled Maya's eyes. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to. You've spent so long having things taken from you. I want to give you something that's entirely yours, that no one can." Stopped checking news about David's trial, stopped obsessing over every detail of his downfall. Instead, she focused on building something positive. She started a consulting firm helping women who'd lost everything in divorce rebuild their careers and lives. The work was fulfilling in ways corporate revenge never was. She was using her experience, her skills, her pain to help others. Adrian supported her completely, investing in her company, providing office space, connecting her with clients. Their relationship deepened, evolved beyond the intense crucible of revenge that had brought them together. "I need to tell you something," Adrian said one evening over dinner. "When this started, I told you it was about the 50 million David cost me. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth." Maya set down her fork. "What's the rest?" "I was testing you. I'd been watching you for months before that charity gala, ever since I heard about your divorce. I saw potential, someone brilliant, broken, hungry for justice. I wondered if you'd be strong enough to survive revenge or if it would consume you." "You were using me," Maya said slowly. "At first, yes. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being a test and started being real. You weren't just strong enough to survive revenge, you were strong enough to move beyond it. That's rare, Maya. That's precious." Maya should have been angry. Instead, she felt oddly relieved. "We used each other, then. I used you for resources and revenge." "You used me for, what?" "An experiment?" "For hope," Adrian admitted. "After Elizabeth died, I thought I'd never care about anyone again. But you made me feel again. Made me want to protect, to build, to create something beyond just empire and power. So where does that leave us?" "Wherever you want. If you want to walk away, I understand. But if you're willing to try, I'd like to build something real with you. Something not founded on revenge or pain, but on who we actually are." Maya considered. Maya laughed, sharp and bitter. "He's sorry he got caught. There's a difference. Please. He's looking at 20 years. His life is over. His life is over because of choices he made. He betrayed me, stole from me, partnered with criminals. Those were his decisions. Sarah's face crumpled. I know. And I was part of it. I helped him hide money, helped him plan the divorce strategy. I destroyed our friendship for a man who didn't even really love me. Tears streamed down her face. He left me the minute things got hard. Blocked my calls from jail. I lost you, lost him, and I have to live with what I become. Maya felt a flicker of something, not forgiveness, but understanding. Sarah had been used too, in her own way. I can't speak for David, Maya said finally. I won't lie to a judge and say he's a good man who made mistakes. He's not. But I can acknowledge that people are complex. That we all make choices we regret. I won't help him get out of prison, Sarah. He belongs there. But I won't add to his punishment either. I'm done with revenge. Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. After Sarah left, Maya sat alone, processing the encounter. For so long, she'd defined herself by her anger, her need for justice. But now, with David in prison and Sarah broken, she felt only emptiness where the rage used to be. Adrian found her there hours later, staring out the window at the city lights. You okay? He asked, sitting beside her. I saw Sarah today. David wants me to be a character witness. And? I said no. But Adrian, I don't feel angry anymore. I thought destroying him would fill this hole inside me, but it didn't. It just created a different kind of emptiness. Adrian took her hand. That's because revenge was never what you really needed. Then what do I need? To heal. To build something new. To realize that you're more than what was done to you. Redemption and healing. The next months were about recovery. Maya. This together. Maya. Together, Adrian. Or not at all. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. You're the most stubborn, impossible, incredible woman I've ever met. I learned from the best. They decided on a different approach. Instead of hiding, they went public, full media exposure. Adrian gave an interview explaining the entire investigation, with Maya at his side. They released portions of their evidence against the Kozlovs to trusted journalists. The strategy was simple: make themselves too visible to kill. If anything happened to them now, everyone would know who was responsible. It was a dangerous gamble, but it worked. The Kozlovs, facing international scrutiny and ongoing FBI investigations, decided Maya and Adrian weren't worth the additional heat. They had bigger problems. But the victory came at a cost. Adrian received death threats daily. His business suffered as partners distanced themselves from the controversy. He'd sacrificed his carefully maintained reputation to protect Maya. Was it worth it? Maya asked one night, watching news coverage of Adrian's company losing another major contract. You're alive, Adrian said simply. That's all that matters to me. The final confrontation. 3 months after David's arrest, Maya received an unexpected visitor. Sarah, looking thin and haunted, appeared at her door. I don't want your apology, Maya said immediately. I'm not here to apologize. Well, not just that. Sarah looked around nervously. Can I come in? Against her better judgment, Maya let her inside. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch, hands twisted in her lap. David's lawyer contacted me. He wants to make a deal, testify against the Kozlovs in exchange for reduced sentence. But he needs character witnesses, people to say he was coerced, afraid. Let me guess, he wants me. He thinks if you speak for him, the judge will be lenient. He's sorry, Maya. He's truly sorry for everything. Maya laughed, sharp and bitter. He's sorry he. Part of her success. She ignored them all. But one call she couldn't ignore came from David himself, from jail. Please, his voice was broken, nothing like the confident man she'd known. Maya, please. Tell them this is a mistake. Tell them I'm not. Not what? Not a criminal? Not a liar? Not the man who destroyed me for his own gain? Maya's voice was ice. I made mistakes. I know that. But prison, Maya, 20 years of my life. You took years from me too. You took my career, my reputation, my trust in people. You took everything I built and claimed it as your own. So forgive me if I don't feel sorry for you now. Is this because of Blackwell? Did he put you up to this? Maya, he's using you. No, David. You used me. Adrian sees me. There's a difference. She hung up and blocked his number. That chapter was closed. Adrian's sacrifice. But the victory wasn't complete. The Kozlov organization was furious about the exposure. Their money laundering operation was ruined, multiple members arrested, millions in assets frozen. They wanted revenge. We have a problem, Adrian said grimly 1 week after David's arrest. He pulled up security footage showing men watching Maya's apartment, following her to work. The Kozlovs know you provided the evidence. They're coming for you. We have the insurance files, Maya argued. The evidence against them. Which they'll assume dies with you. Maya, they're not rational actors. They're criminals who've been backed into a corner. So what do we do? Adrian's expression was hard. I turn myself in as the source. Tell the FBI I found the evidence, I pushed for the investigation. I take the target off your back and put it on mine. No. Maya stood abruptly. Adrian, they'll kill you. They'll try. But I have resources, security, experience dealing with people like this. You don't. I won't let you die because you helped me get revenge. This stopped being just your revenge months ago, Maya said fiercely. We're partners. We face. In a ship with Kozlov International? Maya dropped a folder on the table. The one that involves laundering money from illegal operations? The room erupted. Board members grabbed the documents, their faces showing shock and horror. David looked like he might be sick. This is insane, David sputtered. These are fabrications. Actually, they're FBI evidence, Adrian interjected. The federal agents outside can confirm. As if on cue, the boardroom doors opened. FBI agents in suits filled the doorway, led by a woman who identified herself as Special Agent Rodriguez. David Hartley, you're under arrest for money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit racketeering. The truth comes out. The next hours were chaos. David was led out in handcuffs while news cameras captured every moment. His stock price plummeted. Investors fled. The company he'd built on lies and theft was collapsing in real time. Maya watched from Adrian's office, feeling strangely empty. She'd imagined this moment for months, David's downfall, his humiliation, his destruction. But now that it was happening, she felt no joy. Only exhaustion. Regrets? Adrian asked, joining her at the window. No. He deserved this. But I thought I'd feel different. Triumphant, maybe. Instead, I just feel tired. That's because you're not like him, Adrian said gently. You're capable of empathy, of questioning, of growth. That's what separates people like us from people like David. The fallout continued for days. Federal investigators discovered the full extent of David's crimes, not just money laundering, but fraud, tax evasion, a dozen other charges. He was looking at 20 years in prison, minimum. Sarah was brought in for questioning too. She'd known about some of David's activities, had actively helped him hide assets during the divorce. She faced her own legal troubles. Maya received calls from old friends, people who'd abandoned her after the divorce. Now they wanted to apologize, to reconnect, to be. Imagine a future where revenge wasn't the driving force of her life. Tomorrow would be war. Tonight was for them. Part 3, Love's Final Verdict, 2,000 words. The Ultimate Revenge. The day of David's final board meeting dawned bright and cold. Maya dressed carefully in a black power suit, her armor for the battle ahead. Adrian watched her prepare, his expression worried. Last chance to back out, he said. Maya met his eyes in the mirror. Not a chance. They'd spent the last week setting the stage perfectly. Anonymous tips to the FBI. Leaked documents to financial journalists. Carefully timed revelations to David's major investors. Today, everything would come crashing down. Maya and Adrian arrived at Hartley Enterprises separately. Adrian as a potential investor, Maya as his consultant. They were shown to the boardroom where David was presenting his quarterly results, looking confident and self-assured. His expression changed when he saw Maya. What is she doing here? David demanded. Ms. Hartley is my strategic consultant, Adrian said smoothly. I don't make major investments without her analysis. Is that a problem? David's jaw clenched, but he couldn't refuse without looking weak in front of his board. Of course not. Please, sit. The presentation was impressive, polished slides, strong numbers, ambitious projections. David had always been good at selling visions. But Maya had learned to see beneath the surface. Question, Maya said when David finished. Your international partnerships, specifically with Chin Industries. You've projected significant revenue from that deal? Yes, we're finalizing terms now. Odd, since Chin Industries signed exclusively with Blackwell last month. Maya's smile was sharp. Would you like to revise your projections? David paled. The board members shifted uncomfortably. There are other partnerships, David started. Like Meridian Corp? Doesn't exist. Or Stellar Logistics? A shell company. Or perhaps you mean your very real part. Relationship deepening beyond the physical. Adrian told her about his childhood, growing up poor in Brooklyn before building his empire. Maya shared her dreams, the ones she'd abandoned when David had crushed her spirit. When this is over, Adrian said one night, holding her in the darkness, what do you want? Honestly? I don't know anymore. Before, I wanted David to pay. But now? Now I think I want something simpler. Peace. Maybe a life that isn't defined by revenge. With me? The question was vulnerable, uncharacteristic of the powerful man he usually was. Maya turned to face him. Yes. With you. But before they could build that future, they had to survive the present. The final piece fell into place when Maya infiltrated David's company, not physically, but digitally. Using contacts Adrian provided, she gained access to David's email, his calendar, his private files. What she found was worse than they'd imagined. David wasn't just laundering money, he was actively involved in the Kozlov operations, helping them move illegal goods across borders, facilitating deals that would make him millions but cost countless lives. We have enough, Adrian said, reviewing the evidence. We can turn this over to the FBI tomorrow. But Maya had found something else, something personal. Emails between David and Sarah, discussing Maya. Laughing about her downfall. Planning how to take everything she had before they even filed for divorce. It was premeditated, Maya said, her voice hollow. The whole thing. He married me for my inheritance and my business skills, used both to build his company, then planned to discard me once he didn't need me anymore. Adrian pulled her close. I'm sorry. Don't be. Maya's voice hardened. This just makes what comes next easier. Tomorrow, they would execute the final phase. Tomorrow, David Hartley would lose everything. And tomorrow, Maya would finally be free. But tonight, she allowed herself to be held, to be comforted, to let you risk your life for revenge. It's not just revenge anymore, Maya argued. David's helping criminals. Who knows what that money is funding? Drugs? Weapons? We have a responsibility to stop this. Your responsibility is to stay alive. And what about justice? What about all the people David might hurt with this scheme? Adrian stood, pacing to the window. There's another option. We take the evidence to the FBI, let them handle it. David goes to prison, we stay safe. But then we don't get to finish what we started. Is finishing it worth dying for? The question hung between them. Maya had started this journey for revenge, but now it was about something bigger. About stopping a criminal, about protecting future victims, about proving that people like David couldn't get away with destroying lives. But it was also about Adrian. About this unexpected relationship that had grown between them. About a future she hadn't dared to imagine. What if we could do both? Maya asked slowly. What if we could expose David, protect ourselves, and make sure the Kozlovs can't retaliate? Adrian turned to look at her. I'm listening. We don't just gather evidence, we create leverage. Find something on the Kozlovs that makes us too dangerous to touch. Mutually assured destruction. A slow smile spread across Adrian's face. You're brilliant and terrifying. It's an incredibly attractive combination. Is that a yes? That's a yes. But Maya, he crossed to her, taking her hands. If at any point this gets too dangerous, we stop. No revenge is worth your life. Understand? Maya nodded, but they both knew she was lying. She'd come too far to stop now. The plan accelerates. Over the next month, Maya and Adrian worked in secret, building 2 cases simultaneously, one against David, one creating insurance against the Kozlovs. Maya discovered she had a talent for this darker work, finding connections others missed, seeing patterns in chaos. They also grew closer, there. Terror flooded Maya's system. I don't know what you're talking about. David Hartley's financial records. You've been digging. That stops now. One of them grabbed her arm and Maya screamed. Suddenly, the door burst open again. Adrian appeared with 3 security personnel, and the situation exploded into chaos. The fight was brief but brutal. Adrian moved with surprising skill, taking down one attacker while his security handled the other. Within minutes, both intruders were restrained, and police were on the way. Adrian pulled Maya into his arms, and she collapsed against him, shaking. How did you know? I've had security on you since the beginning, he admitted. I told you, I protect what's mine. Maya pulled back to look at him. Yours? Maya, Adrian's voice was rough, his control finally breaking. I tried to keep this professional. Tried to maintain distance. But every day, watching you transform, watching you become the powerful woman you were meant to be. He didn't finish the sentence. Instead, he kissed her, and Maya kissed him back, all the tension and attraction they'd been fighting for months finally breaking free. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. This complicates things. Everything's already complicated, Maya whispered. True. He smiled, that rare genuine smile that transformed his face. But I'm not sorry. Neither am I. The choice. The next morning, sitting in Adrian's apartment with coffee and the sunrise painting the sky pink, they faced reality. David's involved with the Kozlov organization, Adrian said grimly. Russian mob, money laundering, potentially worse. If we expose this, we're not just destroying his business, we're making enemies of very dangerous people. Maya understood the implication. They'll come after us. After you specifically. You're the one who found the evidence. I can protect myself, I have resources, security. But you, his jaw tightened. I won't. 2 days later, Chen Industries pulled out of talks with David and signed with Blackwell instead. David's stock prices tumbled. His board of directors called emergency meetings. His carefully constructed empire began to shake. Maya watched the news with Adrian, feeling satisfaction mixed with something else, guilt? Second thoughts? Adrian asked, reading her expression. He deserves this, Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, he does. But that doesn't make it easier. Adrian turned to her, his expression serious. We can stop here if you want. We've heard him, proven he's not untouchable. Maya thought about Sarah's diamond bracelet, David's pitying smile at the restaurant, the 3 jobs she'd worked to survive his betrayal. No, she said firmly. We finish this. Secrets and revelations. As they dug deeper into David's business, Maya discovered something that changed everything. Hidden in offshore accounts and shell corporations, David wasn't just fabricating partnerships, he was laundering money. This is bigger than we thought, Maya told Adrian, spreading documents across his desk. He's working with criminal organizations, washing dirty money through legitimate business deals. Adrian, this isn't just unethical, it's illegal. Seriously illegal. Adrian studied the evidence, his expression unreadable. How far does it go? Millions of dollars. Multiple countries. If this got out, David wouldn't just lose his business, he'd go to prison. Then we need to be careful, Adrian said slowly. These aren't the kind of people who forgive exposure. Are you saying we stop? I'm saying we need to be smart. And we need to keep you safe. That night, everything changed. Maya was working late in her apartment when she heard a sound at her door. Before she could react, 2 men forced their way inside, large, dangerous, professional. Maya Hartley? One asked, his accent thick. You've been asking questions. Our employer doesn't appreciate questions. Terror flood. Maya walked into that conference room transformed. Designer suit, professional makeup, hair styled perfectly. She looked like the woman she used to be, but better, harder, sharper, more dangerous. David was mid-presentation when he saw her. He stuttered, lost his place, his face paling. Maya smiled, cold and confident, and took a seat in the front row. After his presentation, which was mediocre at best, David cornered her in the hallway. Maya? What are you doing here? Working, she said simply. I'm with Blackwell Industries now. Blackwell? As in Adrian Blackwell? David's face showed genuine fear. Maya, you need to be careful. That man is dangerous. Funny, Maya replied. He said the same thing about you. The first strike. Adrian's plan was elegant in its simplicity. David was courting a major investor, Chen Industries, a Chinese conglomerate looking to break into American markets. The deal would make David's company legitimate, would take him from moderately successful to genuinely powerful. Chen is looking for a partner with established international connections, Adrian explained. David has falsified his credentials. We're going to prove it. Maya worked with Adrian's investigative team, gathering evidence, building an airtight case. Then, 2 days before David's big presentation to Chen Industries, they made their move. Adrian arranged a coincidental meeting with Mr. Chen, invited him to tour Blackwell Industries. Maya presented their own proposal, legitimate, backed by real partnerships, offering everything Chen wanted and more. We also thought you should know, Adrian said casually, that Hartley Enterprises may not be what it appears. He slid documents across the table. Bank records, corporate filings, evidence of David's fabricated partnerships. Mr. Chen's expression darkened as he reviewed the material. This is fraud, Chen said quietly. Yes, Adrian agreed. We thought you deserved to know before committing millions of dollars. 2 days later. My company. In the process, he went after Elizabeth, spread lies, destroyed her reputation. She couldn't handle the scrutiny, the public humiliation. Adrian's voice was flat, emotionless, but Maya could hear the pain underneath. She took her own life. Adrian, I'm so sorry. The partner was David's mentor. David learned from the best how to destroy people without mercy. When I found out David used the same tactics on you, fabricating prenups, stealing your work, public humiliation, I saw an opportunity. Not just for revenge, but for justice. Maya understood then. They were both wounded warriors, both victims of men who took without conscience. We're going to make them pay, she said softly. Yes, Adrian agreed. We are. Hidden feelings and growing tension. As weeks turned into months, Maya and Adrian's partnership deepened. They worked late hours together, their strategy sessions often extending into early morning. They began to anticipate each other's thoughts, finish each other's sentences. But the professional boundaries they'd carefully maintained began to blur. One night, working late on a particularly complex plan, Maya stood to stretch, and Adrian was suddenly there, close enough that she could feel his heat, smell his cologne. You're brilliant, he said softly. I hope you know that. Maya's breath caught. Adrian. You should have been valued, treasured. Instead, they tried to break you. His hand came up, almost touching her face but stopping just short. But you're not broken, Maya. You're stronger than you've ever been. The moment stretched between them, loaded with possibility. Then Adrian stepped back, the professional mask sliding back into place. It's late. You should go home. Maya left, but the moment stayed with her, replaying in her mind like a song she couldn't forget. The next week, Adrian sent her to a business conference, the same one David was attending. Time for a preview, Adrian said. Let him see what he lost. Maya walked in. Fulfill. And when the house of cards collapses, we'll be there to pick up the pieces. Over the following weeks, Adrian taught Maya the art of corporate warfare. Not just business strategy, but psychological manipulation, timing, patience. He showed her how to read people, how to find leverage, how to strike when an opponent least expected it. Business isn't just about numbers, Adrian explained during one of their late-night strategy sessions. It's about understanding what people fear, what they desire, and using that knowledge. Maya absorbed everything like a sponge. But more than the knowledge, something else was growing between them, a connection she couldn't quite define. The makeover. You can't go to war looking like a refugee, Adrian said bluntly one morning. We're going shopping. I don't need charity, Maya bristled. It's not charity. It's armor. You're representing my company now. Besides, his eyes traveled over her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. I have a feeling you'll enjoy this. Adrian took her to stores she'd only dreamed of entering. Personal shoppers brought out designer suits, dresses, shoes that cost more than her monthly rent used to be. At first, Maya resisted, but Adrian was insistent. Try it on, he commanded, handing her an emerald green dress. When Maya emerged from the fitting room, Adrian's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. His eyes darkened, and for a moment, the polished businessman facade cracked, revealing something raw underneath. We'll take everything, he told the consultant without taking his eyes off Maya. In the car afterward, Maya finally asked, Why are you doing this? Really? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. I told you about the 50 million. That's true. But there's more. He paused, his jaw tightening. 5 years ago, I was married. Her name was Elizabeth. She was kind, gentle, trusting, everything I'm not. Maya waited, sensing this was important. A business partner betrayed me, tried to I have to do? Work for me. Officially, you'll be my strategic consultant. Unofficially, you'll be my weapon aimed directly at David Hartley's empire. I'll pay you 3 times what you made before, provide an apartment, give you access to resources you've never dreamed of. And in return? You help me destroy him. Completely. Utterly. Until there's nothing left but ashes. Maya thought about her tiny apartment, her 3 jobs, the humiliation of serving David dinner while he paraded his new life in her face. She thought about Sarah's pitying smile and the diamond bracelet that should have been hers. When do I start? Adrian's smile was predatory and satisfied. Right now. Welcome to Blackwell Industries, Maya. Let's go to war. Part 2, Rising from Ashes, 2000 words. The transformation begins. Maya's first week at Blackwell Industries was unlike anything she'd experienced. Adrian assigned her a spacious office with a city view, a personal assistant, and unlimited access to company resources. But more than that, he challenged her in ways she hadn't been challenged in years. "This is David's expansion proposal," Adrian said, dropping a thick file on her desk Monday afternoon. "Find the weakness. You have 48 hours. Maya worked through the night, analyzing every page, every projection, every footnote. By Wednesday morning, she had it. "He's lying about his overseas partnerships," Maya presented her findings in Adrian's office. "These companies he claims to have agreements with, 3 of them don't exist. 2 more are shell corporations. He's fabricating credentials to impress potential investors." Adrian's eyes gleamed. "Proof? Registration records, corporate filings, timeline inconsistencies. He's created an elaborate illusion, but it's all smoke and mirrors." "Excellent." Adrian stood, buttoning his jacket. "Now, here's where it gets interesting. We don't expose him yet. We let him continue his charade, let him get deeper into commitments he can't." Breath away. The man himself sat behind a massive desk, looking every bit the billionaire he was reported to be. "Sit," he commanded, not unkindly. Maya sat, her heart pounding. Adrian slid a folder across the desk. "Your work history. Impressive. You turned around 3 failing companies before you were 25. Your strategies increased profit margins by an average of 40%. You have an MBA from Stanford with honors. You investigated me? I investigate everyone who interests me. And you interest me, Maya." He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "I have a proposition. I need someone with your skills, your hunger, your particular motivation." "What motivation?" "Revenge." The word hung in the air between them, heavy and dangerous. Adrian opened another folder. This one contained photographs, financial documents, business records, all related to David's company. "Your ex-husband is expanding, trying to go public. He's making moves into markets he doesn't understand, making enemies he can't afford. His company looks successful on the surface, but underneath, it's a house of cards waiting to collapse." Maya's pulse quickened. "Why do you care?" "Because David Hartley cost me $50 million 2 years ago in a deal that went bad. He's careless, arrogant, and he's hiding something that could destroy him if exposed." Adrian's eyes locked onto hers. "I want you to help me find it. And when we do, you'll get something money can't buy, you'll get to watch him lose everything, just like you did." Maya should have walked away. Should have refused to be part of whatever game Adrian was playing. But the thought of David's suffering, of him finally paying for what he'd done, it was intoxicating. "What's in it for you?" Maya asked. $50 million returned, a competitor destroyed, and the satisfaction of putting an arrogant man in his place. Adrian smiled. "Plus, I have a feeling you and I will work very well together." "And what exactly would I?" "Trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres." The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and designer gowns. Maya moved through the crowd like a ghost, present but unseen. Until she accidentally bumped into someone, nearly spilling champagne on his expensive suit. "I'm so sorry." Maya gasped, grabbing a napkin. "No harm done," a deep voice replied. Maya looked up and froze. The man before her was striking, tall, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, sharp gray eyes that seemed to see everything, and a presence that commanded attention. He wore his tuxedo like armor, and something about him screamed power. "You're not clumsy," he observed, his eyes studying her with unexpected intensity. "You're exhausted. How many jobs are you working?" The question was so direct, so unexpected, that Maya answered honestly. 3. And before that? Before? Maya was confused. Before life kicked you down. What did you do? Something in his tone made her answer. I was a business strategist. I helped build companies, turn around failing ventures. I was good at it. What happened? Maya's jaw tightened. I trusted the wrong person. Made bad choices. Lost everything. The man handed her his card. Adrian Blackwell. Blackwell Industries. Come to my office Monday at 9 a.m. I don't understand. I'm offering you a job, MS. Maya. Maya Hartley. Well, Maya Hartley, I'm offering you a chance to stop serving and start conquering again. His smile was sharp, like a wolf sizing up potential. Unless you're content with carrying trays for people who don't deserve to breathe the same air as you. A dangerous proposal. Monday morning, Maya stood outside Blackwell Tower, a gleaming skyscraper in the heart of the city. She'd borrowed a suit from a thrift store, spent an hour on makeup to hide the exhaustion, and practiced her confident walk. Fake it till you make it. Adrian's office occupied the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city that took her. Without telling her. After settling the debt, Maya had barely enough for a security deposit on a tiny apartment. Rock bottom and survival. 6 months after the divorce, Maya was working 3 jobs to survive. Morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoons doing data entry from home, nights waitressing at an upscale restaurant. The woman who once wore designer suits and sat in boardrooms now served food to people who looked through her like she was invisible. Her tiny apartment had a broken heater, a leaking ceiling, and neighbors who fought at 2 a.m. But it was hers. The only thing that was truly hers. One Thursday night at the restaurant, Maya was exhausted. Her feet ached, her back hurt, and she'd burned her hand on a hot plate. She was delivering drinks to table 12 when she heard a familiar laugh. David. He was there, in her restaurant, with Sarah glowing beside him, her hand sporting an enormous engagement ring. They were celebrating, champagne and expensive steaks, surrounded by friends congratulating them. Maya's hand trembled as she approached the table. Please don't let them see me. Please. But David looked up, and recognition flashed across his face, followed by something worse, pity mixed with satisfaction. Maya? Wow. I heard you were working. But here? The table went silent. Everyone stared. Maya felt her face burn with humiliation. How are you managing? Sarah asked, her voice dripping with fake concern. We heard about the house. Such a shame. Maya wanted to disappear. Wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Instead, she forced a smile. I'm fine. What can I get you? The evening was torture. Every time she passed their table, she heard whispers, saw pitying looks. David left $100 tip, not out of kindness, but to show how far she'd fallen and how high he'd risen. The charity gala. 2 weeks later, the restaurant catered a charity gala at the Westbrook Hotel. Maya was part of the serving staff, invisible in her black and white uniform, carrying this to happen. We fell in love. Don't you dare, Maya cut her off, her eyes blazing. Don't you dare romanticize this betrayal. How long? Silence. How long? Maya screamed. A year, David admitted. Maybe longer. A year. While Maya was grieving her mother. While she was working 16-hour days to save David's company from bankruptcy. While she was planning their dream vacation to celebrate their anniversary. They were laughing behind her back. The devastating divorce. 2 months later, Maya sat in the lawyer's office, staring at divorce papers that would end everything she'd built. But it was worse than just losing a marriage. I'm afraid the prenuptial agreement is very clear, Mrs. Hartley, the lawyer said, his voice professionally sympathetic. Since the company was started during your marriage but registered solely in your husband's name, and the prenup states that business assets remain separate property. I get nothing, Maya finished, her voice hollow. Even though I invested my inheritance. Even though I worked there for free for 2 years. You'll receive the house in Riverside and a small settlement. But the company, the investments, the properties, all Mr. Hartley's. Maya wanted to scream. The prenup had been David's father's idea, presented 2 days before their wedding. She'd been young, in love, trusting. She'd signed without reading carefully, believing love was enough. How naive she'd been. The divorce became public spectacle. The media, somehow tipped off, painted Maya as the scorned wife, the woman who wasn't enough. David and Sarah appeared together at charity galas, playing the happy couple who'd found love in unexpected places. Meanwhile, Maya lost everything. Her friends, their friends, sided with David. He was the successful businessman, the charming personality everyone loved. Maya was painted as bitter, vindictive, unable to let go. The house in Riverside turned out to be mortgaged to the hilt. David had taken loans against it. Voices drifted from the bedroom. Laughter. Her husband's deep chuckle mixed with a woman's high-pitched giggle. Maya forced her feet to move, each step feeling like walking through concrete. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, and time seemed to stop. David was there, shirt unbuttoned, his face flushed. And the woman, Maya's breath caught in her throat. Sarah. Her best friend since childhood. Her maid of honor. The woman who'd held her hand through her mother's funeral just 6 months ago. Maya. David jumped up, his face draining of color. What are you? How did you? 3 years, Maya said, her voice surprisingly steady. 3 years today, David. Our anniversary. And this is how you celebrate? Sarah had the decency to look ashamed, clutching a sheet to her chest. But Maya noticed the diamond bracelet on her wrist, the one David said was too expensive when Maya had admired it last month. It's not what it looks like, David started, the most cliché line in history. Maya laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Really? Because it looks like my husband is sleeping with my best friend. In a hotel room. On our anniversary. So please, enlighten me. What is it actually? The truth comes out. David's face hardened, the guilt disappearing and being replaced by something uglier. Resentment. You want the truth? Fine. I'm tired, Maya. Tired of your ambition, your constant need to prove yourself. Sarah understands me. She doesn't compete with me. Each word was a knife to Maya's heart. Compete with you? I helped you build your company from nothing. I worked 2 jobs to put you through business school. And you never let me forget it. David's voice rose. Every board meeting, every business dinner, you're there, reminding everyone that you're the brains behind my success. Do you know how that makes me feel? So your ego is more important than our marriage? Maya's voice shook now, the composure cracking. Sarah finally spoke, her voice small. Maya, I'm sorry. We didn't mean for the perfect anniversary that wasn't. The rain hammered against the car windows as Maya sat frozen in the driver's seat, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles had turned white. 3 years. 3 years of marriage, and this is how she finds out. Through a text message that wasn't meant for her eyes. Her phone lay on the passenger seat, the screen still glowing with words that had destroyed her world. Can't wait for tonight, baby. Your wife will never know. Room 405, as usual. S. The message had come through on David's old phone, the one he'd carelessly left at home this morning. The phone he said he'd stopped using. The phone that apparently held all his secrets. Maya's vision blurred with tears, but she blinked them back furiously. Not yet. She wouldn't cry yet. First, she needed to see it with her own eyes. Needed confirmation that the man she'd loved since college, the man she'd helped build an empire, had thrown it all away. The hotel confrontation. The Grandview Hotel stood before her like a monument to betrayal. Its elegant facade and golden lights seemed to mock her pain. Maya pulled her coat tighter and walked through the revolving doors, her heels clicking against the marble floor with a rhythm that matched her racing heart. The elevator ride to the fourth floor felt like descending into hell. Each floor that passed took her deeper into a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Fourth floor. The doors opened with a soft ding that sounded too cheerful for what was about to happen. Room 405 was at the end of the hall. Maya's legs felt like lead, but anger pushed her forward. She raised her hand to knock, then stopped. Why announce herself? Why give them time to hide, to lie, to make excuses? She tried the handle. Unlocked. Of course it was. They weren't expecting interruption. The door swung open silently. The suite was dimly lit with candles. How romantic. How thoughtful. The same romantic gestures David had stopped doing for her 2 years ago. This to happen. We fell in love. Don't you dare, Maya cut her off, her eyes blazing. Don't you dare romanticize this betrayal. How long? Silence. How long? Maya screamed. A year, David admitted. Maybe longer. A year. While Maya was grieving her mother. While she was working 16-hour days to save David's company from bankruptcy. While she was planning their dream vacation to celebrate their anniversary. They were laughing behind her back. The devastating divorce. 2 months later, Maya sat in the lawyer's office, staring at divorce papers that would end everything she'd built. But it was worse than just losing a marriage. I'm afraid the prenuptial agreement is very clear, Mrs. Hartley, the lawyer said, his voice professionally sympathetic. Since the company was started during your marriage but registered solely in your husband's name, and the prenup states that business assets remain separate property. I get nothing, Maya finished, her voice hollow. Even though I invested my inheritance. Even though I worked there for free for 2 years. You'll receive the house in Riverside and a small settlement. But the company, the investments, the properties, all Mr. Hartley's. Maya wanted to scream. The prenup had been David's father's idea, presented 2 days before their wedding. She'd been young, in love, trusting. She'd signed without reading carefully, believing love was enough. How naive she'd been. The divorce became public spectacle. The media, somehow tipped off, painted Maya as the scorned wife, the woman who wasn't enough. David and Sarah appeared together at charity galas, playing the happy couple who'd found love in unexpected places. Meanwhile, Maya lost everything. Her friends, their friends, sided with David. He was the successful businessman, the charming personality everyone loved. Maya was painted as bitter, vindictive, unable to let go. The house in Riverside turned out to be mortgaged to the hilt. David had taken loans against it. Voices drifted from the bedroom. Laughter. Her husband's deep chuckle mixed with a woman's high-pitched giggle. Maya forced her feet to move, each step feeling like walking through concrete. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, and time seemed to stop. David was there, shirt unbuttoned, his face flushed. And the woman, Maya's breath caught in her throat. Sarah. Her best friend since childhood. Her maid of honor. The woman who'd held her hand through her mother's funeral just 6 months ago. Maya. David jumped up, his face draining of color. What are you? How did you? 3 years, Maya said, her voice surprisingly steady. 3 years today, David. Our anniversary. And this is how you celebrate? Sarah had the decency to look ashamed, clutching a sheet to her chest. But Maya noticed the diamond bracelet on her wrist, the one David said was too expensive when Maya had admired it last month. It's not what it looks like, David started, the most cliché line in history. Maya laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Really? Because it looks like my husband is sleeping with my best friend. In a hotel room. On our anniversary. So please, enlighten me. What is it actually? The truth comes out. David's face hardened, the guilt disappearing and being replaced by something uglier. Resentment. You want the truth? Fine. I'm tired, Maya. Tired of your ambition, your constant need to prove yourself. Sarah understands me. She doesn't compete with me. Each word was a knife to Maya's heart. Compete with you? I helped you build your company from nothing. I worked 2 jobs to put you through business school. And you never let me forget it. David's voice rose. Every board meeting, every business dinner, you're there, reminding everyone that you're the brains behind my success. Do you know how that makes me feel? So your ego is more important than our marriage? Maya's voice shook now, the composure cracking. Sarah finally spoke, her voice small. Maya, I'm sorry. We didn't mean for the perfect anniversary that wasn't. The rain hammered against the car windows as Maya sat frozen in the driver's seat, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles had turned white. 3 years. 3 years of marriage, and this is how she finds out. Through a text message that wasn't meant for her eyes. Her phone lay on the passenger seat, the screen still glowing with words that had destroyed her world. Can't wait for tonight, baby. Your wife will never know. Room 405, as usual. S. The message had come through on David's old phone, the one he'd carelessly left at home this morning. The phone he said he'd stopped using. The phone that apparently held all his secrets. Maya's vision blurred with tears, but she blinked them back furiously. Not yet. She wouldn't cry yet. First, she needed to see it with her own eyes. Needed confirmation that the man she'd loved since college, the man she'd helped build an empire, had thrown it all away. The hotel confrontation. The Grandview Hotel stood before her like a monument to betrayal. Its elegant facade and golden lights seemed to mock her pain. Maya pulled her coat tighter and walked through the revolving doors, her heels clicking against the marble floor with a rhythm that matched her racing heart. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt like descending into hell. Each floor that passed took her deeper into a nightmare she couldn't wake from. 4th floor. The doors opened with a soft ding that sounded too cheerful for what was about to happen. Room 405 was at the end of the hall. Maya's legs felt like lead, but anger pushed her forward. She raised her hand to knock, then stopped. Why announce herself? Why give them time to hide, to lie, to make excuses? She tried the handle. Unlocked. Of course it was. They weren't expecting interruption. The door swung open silently. The suite was dimly lit with candles. How romantic. How thoughtful. The same romantic gestures David had stopped doing for her 2 years ago.